53 years after Colorado decriminalized abortion, there's another push to ban the majority of late-term abortions in the state. The ballot measure, Proposition 115, aims to restrict abortions after 22 weeks.
If it passes, the only exception to perform a late-term abortion would be to save a mother's life. And women who already received abortions wouldn't be punished. But if it passed, doctors who performed them would risk losing their medical license for 3 years, as well as a $5,000 fine. Coloradans have voted down 3 previous abortion restriction measures in the last 12 years.
KRDO News Channel 13 investigative reporter Chelsea Brensel explains both sides of the highly controversial ballot measure.
It still remains one of the most controversial topics in American history: abortion. For some Colorado women, their vote on Colorado's Proposition 115 measure is shaped by personal experience.
I had an abortion in the mid-70s, so it was a time when it was first starting, and it was still illegal in some states. I was married, but we thought it was an inconvenient time to have a child.
Back then, Ann Barrett says she felt an overwhelming sense of guilt and pain for a long time.
After the procedure was finished, we were all in a little recovery room together. All 12 of us were weeping and sobbing over what we had done.
Barrett believes discovering her faith helped her heal. Now she is strongly against abortion at any time, unless it's to save the life of a woman. She says Proposition 115 needs to be approved so women don't face the struggles she did after her abortion.
It leaves a terrible wound on the soul, and that wound is always there. It may become a scar, but it's always there.
I had my abortion when I was 21 weeks and 6 days.
Several years ago, Rhonda Pullman got a devastating call from her doctor after a high-resolution ultrasound found her baby would not survive after birth. The hospital where her doctor worked had a ban on performing abortions after 22 weeks. So the same week Pullman learned about the deadly fetal anomaly, she and her husband chose to end the pregnancy a day before the hospital's abortion deadline.
There's a couple different ways that an abortion can be performed. I made the decision that I wanted to be induced. I knew that he would not be viable and that if he was even born alive, he would not survive very long. And I felt it was more compassionate for him to die in my arms.
Without abortion as an option, Pullman couldn't imagine prolonging unnecessary suffering for the baby and her husband.
To know that there is something lethally fatal wrong with your baby and you can't do anything about it is inhumane and torture.
Juliana, who lives in Greenwood Village in Arapahoe County, sponsored Proposition 115.
22 weeks is over 5 months into the pregnancy, when the baby feels excruciating pain and when the baby can actually survive outside the mother's womb.
But some doctors believe the decision should be up to a woman and her medical provider.
It takes away that choice, takes away that autonomy, and is missing, major exceptions that why does this not have exceptions for rape or incest? Why does this not have an exception for maternal, psychological, or psychiatric conditions that are a threat to life?
Colorado is one of 7 states with no limit on when abortions can be performed. 43 states have a ban on abortion at some point in a pregnancy, and 17 states currently have a similar ban to the one set forth in Proposition 115. Ultimately, the issue will be decided next week by Coloradans. Chelsea Brensel, KRDO, News Channel 13.